The cost of living rose by 3.1% in the 12 months to March, according to the latest Consumer Price Index. This is slightly up from the 3% recorded in February. Prices increased on average by 0.6% in March 2026 compared with February 2026. 6 of the 13 categories in the CPI basket recorded higher annual rates, including restaurants and accommodation services, education, transport, housing and utilities, information and communication, and recreation, sport and culture. Let's start with the education component, which is surveyed once a year in March. Tuition fees increased by 5.4% in 2026, higher than the 4.5% rise recorded in 2025. Primary and secondary education rose by 6.2% compared to 5% last year, while tertiary education increased by 4.2%, up from 3.7% in 2025. Private secondary schools recorded the sharpest rise of all the education categories, climbing by 7.5%. Moving on to the transport category, where the annual rate increased from negative 2.1% in February to negative 1.6% in March. The negative values represent deflation, meaning that transport goods and services were in general 1.6% cheaper in March 2026 compared with March last year. The deflation is mainly the result of fuel prices declining by 8.7% over the 12-month period, supported by a marginal increase of 0.4% in vehicle prices. Passenger transport fares recorded an annual rise of 0.7%. The monthly rate was 1.6%, driven by a 20% jump in long-distance buses and a 14.3% increase in airfares. The CPI release for March covers data collected before the sharp fuel price increases that were introduced on the 1st of April. The impact of these higher prices on inflation will be included in the April CPI release that will be published on the 20th of May. Let's dive into inflation for food and non-alcoholic beverages, which slowed further to 3.6% in March from 3.7% in February and 4.4% in January. 4 of the 11 food and non-alcoholic beverages categories are in deflationary territory, including fruits and nuts, vegetables, cereal products, and milk, other dairy products, and eggs. The milk, other dairy products, and eggs category recorded its 10th successive month of deflation at negative 0.5% in March, slightly higher than February's negative 0.7%. 3 products in this group are cheaper than a year ago, including fresh full cream milk, currently in its 13th month of deflation at negative 0.4%, powdered milk at negative 5.5%, and eggs, which were 6.3% lower than a year ago. Prices for cereal products declined on average by 1%. White rice, porridge, maize meal, basmati rice, instant noodles, brown bread, and bread flour are cheaper than in March 2025. The average price for a kilo of white rice, for example, declined from 29 rands and 1 cent to 27 rands and 82 cents over the 12-month period. Meat recorded its second monthly decrease, with beef prices moderating between February and March 2026. Stewing beef declined by 4.2%, steak was down by 2%, mince by 1.9%, and offal by 1.5%. Biltong prices edged lower by 0.2%. The annual rate for meat also slowed, easing to 11.6% from 12.2% in February. Despite the negative monthly rates, the annual change for beef products remains high, but is moderating. Most notably, steak retreated from 28.6% in February to 24.1% in March, and stewing beef from 26.9% to 22.6%. Pork bucked the trend, increasing from 17.3% to 19.5%. Bacon inflation was also up from 2.2% to 4.2%. The March CPI figures include results for the latest quarterly survey of housing rents. Actual rents increased by 4% in the first quarter of 2026, up from the 3.7% rise recorded in the fourth quarter of 25. Rents for houses increased by 3.7%, townhouses by 5.1%, and flats by 4.2%. And finally, accommodation services recorded a large 5.4% monthly rise to reach an annual rate of 12.2%. University boarding fees climbed by 7.2% and hotels by 6% between February and March. For more information on the Consumer Price Index, please visit our website at www.statsa.gov.za.